guys, welcome to another stream, Endless Space 2 stream. Sorry about the delay, we ran into last minute issues, we were trying new hardware, and as usual it is putting up some roadblocks, but fear not, we're here now, so that's what matters. Actually we have, this should be a fairly short stream because the content of the update is just a few things. Well, of course you've been waiting for it for a fairly long time. So we're pretty excited to be talking about the fighters bombers today, but there are also new things coming and also quite a few changes with balance and a new quest and a new hero. But first, I think you're very excited to be hearing about the fighter bombers. So just after I do something I should have done at the very start, so backpedaling here, this is Jay Hell, he's a game designer. I'm Frog Squadron if you don't know me, I'm the community manager. So now this is out of the way, let's jump right in with the video that we have prepared for you guys.
Since Endless Space 2's release, we have continued working hard on the game to make the experience even more memorable. Our top priority is to keep delivering regular, exciting new content for our players. This is one of the many updates that will deepen the Endless Space 2 experience in the years to come. In this update, space battles will be greatly enhanced with two major additions to your space fleets: fighters and bombers. The bomber's role is simple: assault the ships of your opponents. Equipped with lethal projectiles, once bombers are in range, they can tear enemy ships to pieces. Unlocked via the technology tree, bomber squadrons are accessible once Stage 3 of the military quadrant is reached. Attain Stage 5 and an even more powerful version becomes available. Where bombers offer destructive power, fighters offer versatility. In an offensive capacity, they can attack while escorting bombers to their target or be sent on raids themselves. In a defensive capacity, they will escort your ship and intercept any bombers that come their way. Just like bombers, two different levels of fighter squadrons are accessible at Stage 3 and 4 of the military quadrant, respectively. Equipping ships with fighters or bombers is easy. Simply place a squadron module in an appropriate available slot via the ship design screen. To take full advantage of your fighter and bomber squadrons, we've created 5 brand new battle tactics. As well as the squadrons themselves, this update also brings a host of other exciting features. 4 new modules to boost various fighter and bomber capabilities. A new quest where you will face down a pirate menace. And a new buccaneering hero, Jennifer Rock, a privateer turned academy flying ace who's always keen to play with and invent the latest Space War toys. Take to the forums and social media to share your thoughts on this and the next updates coming to Endless Space 2.
Okay, we're back. So we hope you like this video. Obviously this will be available to rewatch on YouTube in, well, basically as soon as we're done here, we'll be putting it up over there. So don't hesitate to check it out if there are some things you'd like to see again. But actually it explained a great deal, so we thought it was a lot more, well, a lot more interesting to see it in action than to just have our faces while we're just discussing things, but they didn't mention everything, which is why I have Jay Hell with me to basically expand on this. So what can you tell me about the fighters that we haven't said in the video?
So yeah, exactly, like François said, the video is quite exhaustive, but we do have a few more things that weren't mentioned. As for system improvements, you can also find squadron modules and battle tactics related to fighter and bombers in Curiosities Across the Galaxy, so as always...
let's bring up the tactics.
Keep exploring, yes, because obviously we have specific tactics related to the fighters and bombers, which are focusing either on an offensive stance or a defensive stance.
And what does that do exactly?
So basically, if you pick an offensive tactic, you will have bonuses to damages, more aggressive fighters and bombers, and on the opposite, if you pick a defensive stance, your fighters will be more protective, and you will be basically more conservative overall.
Okay. And there's the last one, which is like in the middle, which is like all the other tactics, right? It's the 50-50.
Yes, but it depends really. And for the curiosity ones, they're a little bit more varied in their effects.
Okay, all right. So, well, here we have some nice footage of the actual battles. Well, we keep on explaining the things we haven't said yet. What else? Basically, I think a thing that was really told to me was you don't necessarily need to have bombers all the time in your fleet, but something you need to make sure of is that you have some fighters to defend your fleet, because if your opponent has bombers, they will mess you up. Is that it?
Definitely. Actually, we have kept the kinetics as flak for the defense modules, so you can still have some measure of defenses using flaks, but the most effective defense against bombers stay the fighters, so it's always a good idea to at least have one squadron of fighters in your fleet, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, basically the kinetics have received a hit because they also defend against missiles, so they're becoming very, very multi-purpose. So, well, they can't be doing too much damage on the side, so otherwise that would be just the weapon of choice by default, and that would not be good.
Yeah, about that, the kinetics, the flaks stay as their targeting priorities stay on the missiles, and then they target the squadrons, but they will always still keep targeting the missiles first.
Okay, so a good strategy would be maybe have some missiles and then have some squadrons on the side, try and fool the enemy fleet. Oh, okay, that's good. I like it. What else do we have? Well, we have a few. Well, let's see the hero. I think Jennifer. I think she was in Endless Space 1. So those of you who have played Endless Space, first of the name will have seen her. Obviously, it's not exactly the same profile, but it's exactly the same person. She's a pretty badass hero who we thought you might like to see again. She basically, I think. Well, do you want to tell us a little more about it? Yeah, I'm not sure you do much to do with the heroes, so let me tell the people about the heroes. Okay, so basically she uses the three skill trees of the Scavenger and the Seeker, which means that she's a very, very good admiral. Especially, I think from what Kinrael told me, she has some very interesting skills to do with fighters and bombers, some bonuses. So this is something that you should definitely try to be making the most out of. You can find her on the marketplace like any other hero. So that's pretty good. And there's also, I think, a quest tied to fighters and bombers. Do you know anything about this one?
I know there is... yeah, I should say that Kinrael was working on the feature mostly, so if you have any questions, you can... in-depth question, you can always ask him on the forums. But there is definitely a quest that yield interesting squadron modules.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we've hinted at it. So if you've been following the blog for the past week, basically, we've mentioned that someone in the galaxy is basically building a lot of fighters, and you're trying to figure out who they are and how you can benefit from that, or at least stop it, because they're kind of on a rampage and everything. But this is for you to find out for yourself. It's a fairly late game quest, I think. So if you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to ask. But we'd rather you find out about it for yourself if that's the kind of thing you're into. Yep.
Let me just add, I don't remember if it's mentioned in the video, but you can, before the battle, in the advanced setup of for the fleet, you can select the stance for your fighters. You can either put them as aggressive or defensive. It's linked to the tactics, and basically if you put them as aggressive, the fighters will not always escort the bombers, they will also attack the enemy ships. However, if you select the defensive tactics, the fighters will prioritize escorting the bombers to their attack missions. It's linked to the tactics.
Okay, all right. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it for basically Jennifer and the quest. There are other new things coming with the update that are, I think, fairly minor, all things considered, but that you will, especially if you launch the game a lot, quite like to see happen. We have the new outgame view for the Unfallen. Basically, the outgame view is what we call the view from the main menu, the one with all the ships. So you now have the Unfallen ships, and you also have the Cravers and the Sophons. Basically, those two were in already in the game, but they only had the planets, the home planet of each faction. They didn't have their ships yet. So now that's inside, that's in the game, so you can rejoice if you're a lover of these two factions. So yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the balance. Quite a few things that quite a few people have been requesting. Do you want to talk about trade companies maybe?
Yeah, definitely. So just so you know, we are using a balance mode that you can actually download and test out the changes. And we're iterating directly with some of you and community members to make changes. And so the most recent ones we've made are related to trade companies mainly and Hero XP. We knew there was a problem with Admiral XP not going as fast as Governors, and hopefully we fixed that. Now both heroes have a base passive XP depending on what they are assigned to. So Governors will earn a base XP from the system they are assigned to, and the Admirals will earn a base XP depending on the fleet they are assigned to. So the bigger fleets and the better ships, and the faster they will level up. They will also now earn a lot of experience when you win a battle, or even if you lose a battle actually.
Just taking part in the battle.
Exactly.
Being close to a battle, like getting wiped in a battle, a lot of XP. Okay, that's good. That's good. At least if you're losing a while, it gives you a chance to progress and come back and get better.
And for heroes, mostly that's it. There was also a balance on skills, but this is a little bit older. And in this update, you get all the balance changes on the trade companies. So their number.
Tell us more about this. This is something a lot of people wanted. So just tell the people what they want to hear.
It's like trade companies we feel were interesting for players, but there was they could definitely be broken in the end game, and some of you have found very clever ways to break the system, and we're grateful for all the saves you sent us. So right now we've reduced the max number of trade companies you can have from 5 to 3, and the Lumeris can have 4 with a new faction trait that we added to them. And mostly the formulas to compute the income have been reduced. The length bonus that you get for long trade routes has been reduced following a suggestion from the community, and basically that's it.
Okay. So I think we have some AI changes as well. There's quite a few AI changes, but the big ones. Do you want to talk about these? Maybe I can do that if you like.
Yeah, maybe you can talk about
Okay,
it.
all right. I'm going to talk for a while then. Basically, one of the changes from the previous update was to the overcolonization system and the way people. You wouldn't be able to expand quite as much, quite as fast. This change is now handled a lot better by the AI, which beforehand could basically almost bankrupt itself, mostly because its system approval would tank, and it was not really good at coping with that mechanic. So now it has a better prioritization system when it comes to settling the right planets and trying to avoid the ones that are going to put it in trouble. So that's one thing. So hopefully the AI will be a bit more responsive because it has a lot less issues to deal with on its own. The other one being in relationship with the player, the AI is now a lot less susceptible to send you, messages that you're trespassing with military ships if what you're sending it are only exploration ships. Basically, there is now a certain threshold that under which the AI does not consider your ship to be threatening, and thus will not tell you to please back the hell away from my systems.
Yeah, my advice in any case would be to make naked exploration ships, like just remove all the weapons. I mean, if you're friendly, that's what you should be doing, right?
Okay, get naked if you're friendly. That's what JHL is saying. That's the way we do it. All right, I think that wraps it up for us for the balance changes. There is a long list of changes. We have about half the size of the previous patch, but that's still like 6 pages of notes. So now we're going to take a few questions from the chat. So if you have something you'd like to ask us, hopefully something that is maybe more of a design question, we can maybe answer it. Let's see, any new unique planets this time? Not this time, no. Let's see. On Steam, it was said that today is September 12th. Well, this is September 12th, and the update is going to be coming later tonight. Basically, we just need to wrap a few things up here, and then we'll be sending it to you guys. So today, is there a battle tactic long range and its attack? Could you be Nerenorth? Could you be just a bit more specific in your question? Like, I think this is something that maybe JHAL could be able to answer, but right now I'm not sure what you're asking. Will we ever see some Amplitude merchandise? Oh, you're liking our t-shirts. Well, I really like it too. But yeah, Etienne over here is saying, yep, I like the t-shirt too. Basically, I think we have a few things coming your way if you're, willing to, or interested in, getting some cool Amplitude stuff. I'm afraid I can't really say much more than that now, but I think you'll like it. So check back in with us. Just follow what we post online on Facebook and Twitter, and you will definitely hear about it. Can the Lumeris be allowed to sell planets in the market to other factions to buy? For other factions to buy?
Yeah, this is actually something we considered back then in early access, but it was ruled against it mainly for consistency reasons between all the factions. So they can actually exchange system, but they have to use diplomacy.
Yeah, like you could do this with your friends, or try and set up something with the AI, but it's not something that you can just click on a button and that it happens. Oh, of course, somebody with this question. The question is, will you implement an option to purge POPs?
Well, we're not against it, and we're currently considering it, so I will say that it might come in a future update.
Okay, this is something that you should feel terrible for, however, because it means you're a terrible person, and probably really into the well-being of your population. Can fighters and bombers be used for sieging planets? As far as I can tell, this is only a battle.
Actually, the damage you do in Siege is linked to the fleet itself and to some modules that you can put on it. Currently, I don't think fighter and bombers have an impact, but it's something we could maybe consider.
Okay, so is Oddbot in this or the next update? Wouldn't you like to know? So not in this one. What will you do all day now that people will stop asking for fighters and bombers on the forums? Well, don't worry about it. People will just hop onto the next thing straight away. So there's always plenty of things. I'm not worried. Auto level up for heroes. Well, actually, the heroes, as JHAL was mentioning earlier, have a base income of XP every turn. So depending on which system you put them on, I think it's kind of to balance between like how big the system is, like how important the system already is, versus how many improvements you build every turn. It's kind of to balance in endgame how fast you could level up a hero if you just put it on a new system and build all the things or just buy them out.
But I think he means like you could just auto-assign the skill points.
Oh,
well,
okay.
if this is your question, it's something we have considered and actually would like to do, but I'm afraid it's going to be low in the priorities for now.
There was a question about what are the plans for the next thing now? Well, basically, of course, if we're not talking about it just yet, it's because we can't, so I won't. But if you want to know, content policy as far as downloadable content expansions updates hasn't changed one bit since Endless Legend came out. So if you want to look to the future, just see what we've done in the past, and it's probably going to be something that, again, most of you will certainly feel is fair and interesting, because the purpose of our game, or development strategy, is to have you just be willing to support our game because you feel that everything we put out just makes it more interesting. And always, whether you get the expansions or not, you feel that this is worth your time and this is a game worth coming back to time and time again. Are there any endgame quests and events soon? Well, basically, this one's kind of a tough one because I think basically the heretic and what we call the metaplot, we often refer to the metaplot on the forum, kind of covers this role. Do you know if we have any plans to expand on that?
We did consider adding very strong events to the endgame, but it's still under discussion, and we cannot give you a schedule for them yet.
Is there a deluxe edition skin applied to fighters and bombers too? I'm guessing this is for cravers. I actually have no idea about this one, so I'll have to get back to you on this. Just send me a PM or something on the forums, and I'll answer you. Is there an official stance yet on Lumerian production? I am really glad that you're coming back to me with that question. Wow. You're asking the tough questions. Well, I'm really sad that we don't have Jeff Spock with us here today.
He's upstairs.
Yeah, he's actually upstairs. Had we known that you would have that question, we would have gotten him to just give us all an answer. Just settle this matter once and for all. What do you think?
Maybe he's in the chat actually.
Maybe he's in the chat.
He
Okay.
lurks there sometimes.
If Slow Hands is somewhere in here, can you give that poor man an answer? I don't think he can sleep at night. Is attack tactic fixed to short range? I think you mean on the fighters.
Yeah, that's probably the question. If that is your question, I don't think so. I don't have all the tactics by heart in mind, but I don't think so.
Next one is it still going to be possible to win battles just focusing on long range, simple tactics and ignoring fighter bombers no matter what the AI opponents do? I really don't think that if you just ignore the fighter bombers, they're not going to blow up all of your ships. Basically, this is the opposite of what we were saying. You need a modicum of defense against the bombers or they will mess you up. They're an extremely powerful weapon, so please prepare for it, or just start on the eulogy because none of your soldiers are going to come back from this wall.
In any case, the AI definitely uses fighters and bombers, so if it actually puts bombers and you have no defenses, then yes, you might take a beating.
Oh, Slow Hands is in the chat. Please send him your question on Lumerious reproduction. He'll love it. So, will the harmony properly come back? Well, we're obviously not talking about the next factions to be coming back to the game, so I cannot say either way. Sorry. Ramming attacks for larger battleships. Well, that's a design question for you.
It would be hard to implement considering our current system, but well, nothing is impossible given the proper resources, so we will see.
Okay. Wow, that was a pretty good one actually, and that's also a design question. Will different factions have different traits to the fighters and bombers, like extra damage and speed?
Okay. Currently they are, I think, all the same. Maybe the Riftborn have a slight variation.
What is it?
I think they're faster, but we did have a lot of feedback about that on the preview branch, so we were currently discussing with some community members about that.
Are we getting AoE weapons able to hit multiple ships? I don't think that's in the cards. It seems a bit... Like in space to rely on area of damage sounds a bit...
It could happen.
Yeah, it could, okay.
I will say that. It could happen.
Can fighters intercept incoming missiles?
No, fighters don't target missiles currently.
They don't even sacrifice their lives.
They don't sacrifice their lives
Take
against
one
the
for the
missiles.
team. Oh yeah, so yeah, that's this question on Fallen answered. Thank you, Jeff. Is there any question about the? No,
actually, I think this is a good question. Are the new bombers and fighter a mid-game thing? So the tech tree was quickly shown in the video, and yes, they start to appear in stage 3, the fighters, so they are mid and end game.
If the carrier gets taken down, what happens to the fighters and bombers? Well, basically, as far as I know, they finish the fight and then have nothing to come back to. We actually, I think, mentioned it in the blog. Basically, if they do not have a ship to come back to, then this squadron is lost at the end of the battle. Sad. but that's what happens. This is a really strong incentive to actually protect your ships and not do just like glass cannon type fleets. Otherwise, you'll just lose them really fast, and that's going to be, well, it's your problem ultimately. But I would suggest you don't. Will we see any kamikaze fighters in the battles?
No, like Froggy said, like they don't sacrifice themselves against the missiles, and they don't throw themselves at enemy ships. We would have liked to, but it was technically difficult to do that.
Oh, I have confirmation that yes to the question that is asking about Kraver's Prime skins for fighters and bomber. So yes, that's the Prime skin actually applies to those. Thank you, Kinrael, for sending me a Slack message. That is very appreciated. Are the bombers faster than the missiles? Do they get destroyed when the host ship dies too? I think that's the one we just answered pretty much. And can the fighters intercept missiles?
The bombers are slower than missiles, I think.
Will there be more usage for strategic resources or buildings?
So currently we haven't focused on that, but if you feel that there is something lacking about this, then by all means you should. Well, it's not entirely true because a lot of the fighter bombers modules and the support for them are using strategic resources actually.
When will we have more meaningful options for trade between factions, like money per turn, asking a faction to attack another, that kind of stuff? That sounds that sounds like a good question. I don't know.
It could happen. Actually, it's something we have considered, and I think I said it on the forums that we are going to focus on diplomacy in one of our future updates, and it might come in there.
As to the question from Ultime Puissance on pirate bribes, we're definitely going to be taking a look at the pirates in the future. So, having Jennifer Rach, I think that's the way you actually pronounce her name, because Slowhands told me that this was totally some kind of weird R sound. So, Jennifer Rach, I don't know. She's just the first of the pirates coming into Endless Space 2. What determines how many fighters you can field? Special modules on the ship hulls. Might you therefore implement a specialized carrier ship type?
Yes, actually the squadron modules, as we call them for fighters, define how many fighters you get, and it depends on the size of the hull you put them on. So for example, if you put them on a medium ship, I think you get 2 or 4, and if you put them on the carrier, you get 4 or 8. You'll have to check the values with Kinrael.
Oh boy. Well, an all-time special fan favorite is a planetary launch missile to target other planets being studied or being worked on. Like a weapon, so you can attack from one system, you can attack another one. That is, why not? But this is not Star Wars, guys. We're not gonna just put some engines on the planet and
It's a fun idea, but we already have like the core cracker, and you can already destroy planets. Yeah. You just want to destroy planets from home, basically.
Yeah, you have to put yourself out there if you want to mess someone up. You cannot just do this from the back of your base. That's not fun. So just take some risks, man. It might pay off. More factions in later patches in DLC. Any chance of a music DLC like Endless Legend had? I think I've pretty much covered that question already. Our policy on this has not really changed. That's the kind of stuff that is often requested by the community. Just more factions with like more unique traits and characters to play. So I think there's a strong chance that you might see some other factions. I don't think I'm saying too much when I'm saying that. And as for the music DLC, it is true that it was really well received in Endless Legend, Echoes of Origa. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do it, especially when it's on sale. It's like nothing and a half. It might make a comeback. I think we're going to take one last question, and then we're going to have to dash back upstairs so we can keep on working on the update and release it tonight. So let's just take one last. let's assume for a moment that I don't know anything, right? Is this game primarily single player? Well, this one actually I think is not for us to answer. I think you guys in the chat, the regulars, if you could answer Captain Keen, your answer would be a lot more valuable than us. Because your collective gameplay time is like, what, 1 million hours? So just have at it. When is the G2G balance mode? Yeah, that's your question. For this update, expected to arrive. When's the next G2G balance mode?
We've just defined the focus with the design team currently. So we are going to try and push it as fast as possible. I don't want to give you like an ETA that we won't keep, but soon. I think soon.
Okay, the purpose is soon. And as for the update, yes, it is slated to release later tonight. So I think with this, we're going to wrap up. Thanks again for joining us. If you have some more questions, do not hesitate to tweet them at us or ask them to us on Facebook or Twitter or the forum, either Steam or the Games Together, where we are always present, well, unless that is we're sleeping or having a beer with your fellow players. We're really happy to always be in touch with you guys. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope that you found this useful. We'll see you again very soon. See ya.
See you.